Welcome to the inaugural Profound Impact Day and the official launch of the Math digital community with this event, Impact and Beyond. Today, we are acknowledging and celebrating the global impact of not only Professor Scott A. Vanstone, but also his academic father, Professor Ron Mullen, his academic his grandfather, Professor Bill Tutt, and his academic children, including Charles Lamb and Alfred Menezes, who are on this event today. But we're also celebrating all of the faculty of mathematics at the University of Waterloo in its role as an international center of research and development. My name is Sherry Shannon Vanstone. I'm President and CEO of Profound Impact. It is exciting to have you with us. Now, before we jump into our conversation, I'd like to remind our attendees that you will be muted throughout this event. You may submit your questions through the Q&A function at any time, and we will address them during the Q&A session. Please note that this event is being recorded. If you have any issues with sound or video with the Zoom, please use the chat function and our team will assist you. Please use the discussion board on the platform to introduce yourself and chat among yourselves. Before I expand more on the significance and importance of this day, I welcome the Mayor of the City of Waterloo and a University of Waterloo BMath 88 graduate, Dave Jaworski, to say a few words. Dave?
Great, thank you very much, Sherry, for the opportunity to speak on the inaugural Profound Impact Day. And a special hello to my first-year roommate, Alfred Menezes. I dug deep into the closet this morning to get out my Math Frosh pink tie. In actuality, this is actually Jan's pink tie. I don't know where mine is. It's probably in the bomb shelter somewhere. But this tie is a symbol of the profound impact that the University of Waterloo Faculty of Mathematics has had on me personally. Jan and I studied in Waterloo and decided to make our life here. Upon graduation, she had a great opportunity. She was hired by Professor Wes Graham to join the legendary company Watcom. A decade later, I would join Mike Lazaridis' company, Research in Motion. Then in 2014, I became the mayor of the beautiful city of Waterloo. Likely the only mayor in the world with a degree in mathematics and computer science. It comes in handy, I can tell you that. So those companies and the university and the faculty have had a profound impact on the world. And it's easy to see the recipe. I reflect on the many interactions and intersections of student co-op experiences, professors, industry researchers over the decades that have proven so fruitful to each side of the equation. Many of these have been through chance relationships, and today we'll see an opportunity to dramatically improve that. I had the chance to work with Professor Vanstone in the wireless security industry, and this new digital community will honor and cultivate his spirit of collaboration. I wish you my personal congratulations, Sherry, as you step forward honoring Scott and his profound impact on so many of us and charting a new way forward. It's a great day for the pink tie. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, for those welcoming remarks. What is Profound Impact? What is Profound Impact Day? And why today? Well, September 14th, besides 6 months after Pi Day, today, September 14th, 2020, would have been Scott's 73rd birthday. And you mathematicians would understand the special properties of the number 73. Not only is it the 21st prime and the twin prime with 71, it is an emerb, meaning that its reverse, 37, is also a prime, which is the 12th prime. 73 is also palindromic in basis 2 and 8, meaning that it's the same read left to right as right to left. But Profound Impact Day is not just about Professor Vanstone and the University of Waterloo. It is about you and your profound impact. A story with the help of our digital platform, Profound Impact Platform, will not be written by you, but by the people with whom you have traveled on this journey. Your impact story is not static, but just the opposite. It is so dynamic and must be visualized in many different ways to capture the full impact. Your impact story will not only inspire others as they reflect on what you have done, but they will be motivated to seek out connections and collaboration with others to help solve some of the most difficult problems and challenges that this world is facing. Profound Impact as a company and as our team members have spent some time discovering and articulating our why. Our why is connecting great people like you to do great things. Now, as mentioned, today is not only Profound Impact Day, it's also the official launch of the University of Waterloo Math Faculty's Math Digital Community. And today, alumni, faculty, students around the world are joining in this celebration of the power of alumni and faculty engagement and connection with these two events. This one, where we will introduce you to the platform, followed by a presentation from Barney Ellis Perry on engagement metrics. Second will be at 4 p.m. this afternoon, an event titled Impact and Beyond, when the math faculty will utilize this math digital community to discuss the faculty's vision for research, creativity, and innovation, and the profound impact of early discovery, experimentation, and a disruption through research and invention, with a presentation by Professor Michaela Mosca. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce you to Brian Romonsky, who will walk through highlights of our digital platform. Brian is an engineer and an innovator with extensive experience in data security and new business development. As a chief strategic advisor at Profound Impact, Brian is applying database technology and data visualization to build strong technical communities and uncover stories of successful collaboration. Brian.
Thank you, Sherry. Really excited to share with you some of the highlights of the platform that we've built. I've been working with Sherry and a growing team for many months in terms of going from the original concept of what is Profound Impact, as Sherry just explained, and realizing that in code and in reality. So I am going to switch over to a view of the platform and take you through some of the features. So before I dig too deep into what the platform is and how it works, let me just give you a little bit of background on where this came from. So unlike a lot of alumni engagement and fundraising platforms that you might be familiar with, this one is really focused on technology-oriented users, technology degree programs, and technology alumni. And we've done user research to understand those users, that user base. One thing that stood out really clearly is that these users tend to not engage with their traditional social media platforms. So they are typically not using Facebook and LinkedIn on a regular basis. They may have an account, but it's really not something that consumes a lot of their time. They're also very concerned about their personal privacy. They don't want to give away information if it's not giving any value to them. They're concerned about how their information is going to be used. So these insights have really helped shape and drive how this platform has been built. We believe that one of the key differentiators is to put the users in control of their data, in control of their journey through the platform. And we also feel that it's really important to help visualize relationships rather than trying to tell people or expect them to provide pictures and snippets that are going to tell the story. We want to show connections and relationships and uncover relationships that may not be easily heard about through text, but seen through visual representations. Another differentiator is that we're using a privacy by design approach. In fact, we've even engaged with Anne Kavoukian, who's the creator of Privacy by Design and a former Information and Privacy Commissioner for Ontario. And she's really helping inform us about how to do a privacy by design approach and put users in control of their own data. And another important premise of that is that, as I said, that the data belongs to the users who contribute information to the platform, but also as an alumni or community manager, as somebody who works with a community of alumni or individuals, if you become a customer of Profound Impact and you use this platform, the database that gets built and all the contributions that get put into it are yours, right? So Profound Impact as a company is not looking to collect people's personal data and use it for some nefarious purposes. We're using it to really build community, and the data in the platform is yours. So let's take a look at some of the features that we built in and some of the ways that this platform works. If I log out, you'll see that the default page is fairly basic. You have stories here of prominent people, prominent events. So we're looking at data here from the University of Waterloo Math Department. And you can click through any one of these to see a more detailed story behind these individuals or these events. You've got some news and information, pretty typical for a community platform. But you also have this map that's showing visually where people are located and how they're distributed around the globe. And this is done at a city level. So I can zoom in and see statistics at the country level or at an individual city level about where people are distributed. These are alumni from the University of Waterloo Math Department. And again, we're not giving away any personal information here. We're just giving away aggregate data at the city level. And I can zoom in and understand where people are. And over time, we're going to be adding more rich detail to this. We're going to be showing where there's collaborations and academic links among these people, or where there's shared projects among these people. So you will see arcs and connections among people in different geographies and see how collaboration in the community builds over time. If I log into the platform, we see that I'm presented with a collection of options, more detailed options than I had before. One that I hopefully you've already seen and explored is that we have a unique view for today's event. And that's one of the features of the platform, is that we can host events in parallel with a media platform. So we're not trying to build out our own video sharing platform. Obviously, we'll use the best-in-class technology available, as we're using Zoom today. But we can have some persistent information. So one of the challenges with a Zoom meeting is that it comes and goes, and all the chat and all the information disappears unless it's been recorded, and then whoever has a recording is the one with the data. We are creating a chat window here that is part of this event and will persist long after the event is gone. You can continue the conversation beyond the event. You have obviously the agenda and timing information here. One feature that is novel for our platform is we have this little graph where you can see that we've got people logging in from a couple of locations. So we have people in the US, we have people in Canada, a few people where we don't have their location yet. So this is a fairly simple event where we have one Pi Day central event, and we have one meeting going on at the moment with people logged in. And we've done some other events where we've had multiple sessions concurrently with people around the globe logged in. This is a live view, so as people arrive, you can actually see the bubbles change in size and shape, and you can get an understanding of where are people coming from in real time. So this is a feature for any event that we host. We can even change the parameters of what's seen. So instead of country-oriented, this could be based on some other parameters, such as degree program or area of research interest. So we could get an understanding of who's participating in the event and see a live view. And as you can see, this is a dynamic graph, so you can rearrange it however you want. You'll see that's a common feature of a lot of our capabilities and views. Let's look a little deeper into the actual community itself. So that's just a single event. If I step in, as you are well aware, in a technology community, people with advanced degrees really dominate the shape of the technology itself and the future of the technology. An academic family tree is a way to view who has been an academic advisor for others and the relationships among them. So we see here, Dr. Vanstone was an academic advisor for a large number of students. And we have a view, we can see that his relationship with Ron Mullen is here. We see Dr. Menezes here, and we can actually rearrange his view. So if I want to reshape this to make a particular point or make things more clear for me, or if I want to save this image for export to some other platform, I can rearrange the view, I can rearrange the people. And for people who have public information available, I can even click into them and see pictures, and eventually we'll populate this with some high-level detail. Now, the amount of detail is selectable by the user, and I'll show in a second how the user can control what information is revealed about them. For others, the information is private. You notice that all of these names were taken from a public source. So these all came from the Mathematics Genealogy Project. So this is all public data already that we are simply showing in a new visual form. I'll show some other graphs in a second where you're going to see everybody listed as a private user, because again, the privacy by design approach, we're not going to show anybody's information unless they're aware of how it's being used and where it's being used. And we don't have explicit permission on this demo site to use this, and that's why we're only using public information about anybody on this site. So that's a quick tour of academic genealogy. Certainly you can zoom in and out on this. You can change the date range and replace your search so you can understand graduates at different points in time. And again, click through these people to learn more about them. Let's take a look at one of our other views. So we're looking here now at a professional relationship graph, looking at where people have worked. So much more complex relationships. You can see that everybody on this, all the people on this are represented by a dot. The light pink dots are all private users, as I mentioned earlier. Most of these people are these light pink color because this is a demo site and we're not sharing private information about these people. A few of us who are participating in the program have put our information in, so you can see that I'm here, and again, summary information at this level, but in the future, I'll be able to expose more rich detail about myself. The links between people on this graph are professional links. So you can see that I've worked at a place called S-Script, a company, and as has Elisa Starbuck, who is participating in today's program, and so has Sherry Vanstone, who is also on the platform and shared her information. And Sherry is connected to Scott Vanstone, and Scott is part of the University of Waterloo community. So as you can see, there are many other people at the University of Waterloo who have not yet explicitly given their permission to see their information. All we can show is, again, public information about where people have worked. So I could see that there's connections to Certicom. I can see that there's connections to some international universities, University of Minnesota. So now I realize that I, who have never worked at a university, have connections to all these people at various universities through the University of Waterloo Math Department. You'll also see that there's some people out on the fringe who aren't connected to anybody. These are people who have acted as academic advisors or have influenced the people at the University of Waterloo. So they may not have a direct professional relationship, but they're out on the periphery, literally. So you can see that these are private users. I don't have any personal information about them. I could see some of the locations where people have worked, places like PricewaterhouseCoopers, actually links to remote people together. So over time, you're going to see more rich relationships, more details between these people. We're going to add layers of collaboration, shared publications. So you'll see how these people are connected in more rich and interesting ways. One other quick view that I'll show you is what we refer to as the faculty view. So again, if I look at the mathematics department at Waterloo, I can see that they're grouped into 5 different faculties. So over here, we're looking at computer science. And over here, we're looking at pure mathematics. So you can get a sense of the relative size of each department. Now in this view, we're showing a combination of both current active members, also retired and deceased members. So you can see that over here, I've got Scott Vanstone, was connected with combinatorics and optimization. And again, he's the only public user that we have in this particular data set, but if you log in through the live University of Waterloo site on Profound Impact, you'll see many, many more people have made their information public. And as with the previous graph, over time, we're going to start to add more layers of interaction. So just seeing clusters of people around a particular department is not particularly exciting, but we're going to start to update this graph with collaboration. So you'll start to see links that connect people who have shared publications or have done project work together across departments or with other departments within the university. And so this will grow in richness and complexity over time. So you start to see those connections. And again, you'll be able to filter it by time and be able to filter it by name or other properties so that you can better understand how you're connected with activities at the university, how activities at the university have impacted events in the world. Now, all of this information about people, as I said, we're heavily focused on privacy. So where does the data come from? Well, as a user, I can certainly go in and update my own information. I can choose what information to share, from basic name and address info. I can provide my education background and my professional work experience. So this is all information that I have entered manually. I can go ahead and add a new field in here if I want to add a new company. And again, I can add as much or as little information as I choose. So the number of required fields is really minimal. So I can quickly add quite a bit of information about myself. The percent completion of your profile is tracked and grows. So I've got everything, all the fields filled in for myself. But as a new user, you'd probably start off with very little information, maybe just your graduation date and where you got your most recent degree from, but you can add more information over time. So you have a easy ability to manage your profile information. Now, of course, entering all this data might be tedious. You may already have this information in other forms. So we are building in the ability to import your profile from multiple locations. So the one that we have highlighted right now is that you can import your common CV from the Canadian Common CV. If you have that in PDF format, you can take that PDF file, upload it here. We'll parse out the data, give you the opportunity to review and correct any errors in that, update any information that's out of date, and then import it to your profile. We'll actually keep track of your upload history. So you have multiple versions perhaps of your common CV. You can keep track of all the versions that you've uploaded. And then over time, we're going to be adding other sources into this. So I mentioned the mathematics genealogy database a second ago. That's one that we have targeted to as an import source. You'll be able to pull in data about yourself and your immediate connections from that database. You can imagine many other public sources and maybe some private sources where you may have an account where with your permission, we'll be able to go and pull in information about you to populate your profile. Important feature about this, as I mentioned again and again, is privacy. So certainly I can change various settings about my account, pretty typical to change my email address or my password, but the important thing here is this privacy mode. So any new user of the platform, they have to be invited into the platform. Once you're invited in, by default, your account starts off as private. Private means that you can enter information about yourself and your relationships will be shown, how you've impacted others, but your personal name, your personal work experience will not be revealed to the platform. Only the connections are revealed. And if you choose to make your information public, that means it's only public within the platform. That's not public to the world. It's only public to your fellow users in the community. So today you have this sort of one slider that turns that on and off. Over time, we're going to add more details. So you'll have individual groups that you can share information with and more fine-grained control over how you're going to share your information and who you're going to share it with. So that's a very high-level tour of the platform. Again, we are emphasizing privacy by design. We are emphasizing that you as the individual login or the individual account owner manage your own data. And then customers of ours, people who manage a community, people who work with alumni, as these platforms get built, this is not just a thin veneer or a branding layer on top of a common platform. You're actually getting your own instance of the platform and it's your own data. And if there ever is sharing from one instance, say one department to another, it's only where the communities agree that this is information they want to share that we will enable that level of information sharing. So you're in complete control of your data and your users are in complete control of their personal data. Again, privacy by design and high-level visualization of relationships. Now, with that quick introduction, I'm going to hand you over to Barney Ellis Perry. Barney has extensive experience in alumni engagement and fundraising. He was the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Alumni Relations and CEO at the UC Irvine Alumni Association. Prior to that, he served in a leadership role at the University of British Columbia, where his passion for innovation played a pivotal role in re-engineering the alumni engagement, especially in the creation and launch of a campaign with the goal of raising $1.5 billion in private support and doubling the alumni engagement. Barney is also a recipient of the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Memorial from Medal from the Prime Minister of Canada for his volunteer efforts at the national level. And he's going to share with you some information and his thoughts about measuring impact and the metrics around that. Barney?
Great, thanks, Brian. Great job going through the site. Welcome, everybody. So I'm going to start at the highest level because I think to really get a sense of the importance of this site of profound impact is to really think about the university context. And universities play this incredible role in our society. And that's why I love working for universities, because for me, they are the most important agents of change through the education of our students and getting people to think in new and innovative ways, but also for the phenomenal research impact and coming up with solutions that our society needs. And it's very interesting in this time of the changing political landscape and sort of the craziness that's going on in our society everywhere. When you think about universities, if you look at the University of Laval, set up in 1663, like over 350 years that the University of Laval has been there. If you look at the University of Bologna, it goes back to, over 1,000 years. So it's incredible the role that universities play. But to me, it's also a little bit mind-boggling because it's very hard for universities to talk about their impact. And that's something when you work in alumni relations and like on the external side of the university, you really want to do. But it's very hard to find that information. And it's very hard for research departments to tell that story. And it's very hard often for faculty and researchers and alumni to tell that story. So this is why I'm so intrigued with this project when I first started talking, when Sherry first contacted me, because I think this is incredibly important. And some of you are thinking, well, of course we have all the research, the rankings, we have all the university rankings. And lately we have the new Times impact rankings. But what's interesting about those when you start picking them apart is the rankings are awesome, but they really don't talk about impact. They talk about outputs, they talk about numbers, but they don't really talk about the impact. And so that's what I think this is really interesting. Even the new Times ones, which are impact rankings, they're really focused on the United Nations Global Sustainability Development Goals, which is different. So it's not talking about this. So I find that very interesting. So why is that? And if anyone's on here who works for universities, I'm sure there's lots of people, you realize how decentralized universities are. And we're going to talk in a bit about strategic plans and for the institutions and how everything comes together. But really, you're dealing with sometimes hundreds of departments who, for the most part, due to academic freedom and other foundational elements of universities, don't have to talk to each other. So but that's changing, and most institutions want to. So we've been seeing lately a lot of focus on economic impact, which is great. Startups and things like that are coming out of universities, and we're telling those stories, and that's terrific. And of course, there's always the stories of amazing alumni and amazing researchers and things like that, but they're sort of like the spikes. Like we get the big parts, but we don't get the vast amount of output and impact that is being had. One of the most areas that actually has the most ability to talk about their impact is the fundraising department, of course, because it's a nice clean metric of dollars. And then more lately, it's been alumni engagement and tracking alumni engagement. But again, we're not there yet to show the impact. So I'm going to talk a little bit about alumni engagement metrics to give you the context of why I think profound impact is so important. So firstly, the strategic framework. So it started in about 2000. There was some trial projects with universities. I happened to be at the University of British Columbia in about 2004 when we were one of those trial universities setting up this program, which was awesome. And then I was very fortunate to be involved in that all the way through my career in alumni relations. So that's been coming along really nicely. There's great work being done. And in about 2018 CASE, which is sort of the overarching organization for fundraising and alumni relations, did this white paper on alumni engagement metrics and started to really come up with a standard framework, which is absolutely fantastic because that didn't really exist up till now. And so now we have the buckets of volunteering, communications, experiential, and philanthropic. So great work is being done because it used to be that the alumni folks were just the fundraisers or the friend raisers, I mean, and isn't that nice? But they didn't have a way to quantify that. So this is really, some people like to say it's quantifying the unquantifiable, which is great fun. But it's also being able to show the return on investment. And that's what I like. So I've been involved in a lot of growth of alumni organizations, and we really want to show the leadership who've invested in our program the impact that we're having dollar-wise here from our engagement, return on investment. Also really bring, a derivative of that is increasing in performance-based management, which I believe is really important. It's also great for our fundraising colleagues. I mean, we bring a whole bunch more data. So alumni engagement metrics can bring a massive amount of data to the fundraising initiatives, which is really, really helpful. And one of my sort of passion areas is dual goal campaigns. And when you have a really robust alumni engagement metrics program and you match that with your robust fundraising metrics, you're able to create a dual goal campaign. So at the University of British Columbia, it was to raise $1.5 billion and to double alumni engagement in a measurable way in 5 years. Both goals were knocked out of the park and we did really, really well. But what it did was it allows you to say, we see everybody, and everything that you do, your time, your talent, and your treasure is equally important. And we're going to measure it and we're going to report back on that. So that's sort of the overarching framework. What this sort of looks like, and this is sort of a scribble of mine, is we have the 4 buckets, so the case bucket. So these are the big areas, so experiential and philanthropic and volunteer and communications. And the first ring, the gray ring that you can see, is an output. So that's if you do some of these activities, say experiential, you put on events, you maybe, you have an award program, you have an award recipient. That's great. So you can say, and you can measure that we have that award recipient and put that in your system. Or you've had a networking event and you've had this many people attend. Well, that's great. But the question is, what did they do? What was the outcome of them participating in that manner? And that is what is so vital, because that is the impact. And so for a while, I've been pushing this concept of outcome metrics, which is the blue in the middle here. So the example would be the institution, the alumni shop has, let's go with a simple example, in the old days, pre-COVID, of having an event. People attend, and most of the time they get a nice thank you email, thanks for coming, et cetera, et cetera. But we don't really know what the impact was. Now, if you use the data, what you can do over time is start to make those linkages and see that that person attended that event, and then they became a Giving Day donor, because at the event you talked about Giving Day, and you followed up with specific call to action for the Giving Day. So that's the type of thing. But there's all of these areas in here are what moves the dial for the institution. These are the outcomes that have an impact. So they hire a student, they open their donation appeal and make a donation. They provide digital content for your website. They become a social media ambassador. Maybe they're a board member or a volunteer. They help with admissions. All of these things that really have an impact, and they're a specific outcome having an impact. And as we go, please put questions in the Q&A, and I'm happy to answer those questions at the end, and Brian will be facilitating that. So that's, this concept of outputs, which are the basic, and these are the 4 buckets, but then going to the next step, which is outcomes. And there are not a lot of universities yet doing this. There are some, and I've helped us develop some of those programs. And that's what's really exciting, is when you start to create this new framework that takes it. I mean, it's really fun to have the outcome, the metrics, output metrics, but it's even better to have the outcome metrics. And that's a lot of work. And one of the issues that people will say, and it may be in a Q&A, is, well, where do we get the data? And this is the challenge, because usually the outputs are the data that the alumni office can get, or you can get fairly easily. But the outcome data is a lot harder to get. And this is where it comes to campus partnerships. And this is about having your overarching, your alumni strategy being that for the institution, and one that all campus units and schools can participate in and know what they're contributing to. And thus setting goals and setting their own internal goals, which really drives them to share the data with you. Because at the end of the day, it always comes back to data. So that's really, really important. So thinking about the institutional context. So what we show here is trying to show the flow from, on the far side, institutional strategic plan. And when you look at university strategic plans, they usually have these 4 buckets: transformational learning of some sort, and then of course research, and then reputation, and then local and global engagement. I mean, you're going to see different ones, but in general, I looked at a lot, and these are sort of buckets that you're going to see. So that's the big picture for the institution. Derivative of that, downstream of that, is going to be the alumni strategic plan, and I will always advocate that your strategic plan for alumni and development should be completely married with that of the institutional strategic plan. So then in the center, you take the buckets of the case buckets, if you will, communications, experiential, philanthropic, and volunteering. And then you start to look at what are the things that you're doing, knowing that some of those are going to just be purely outputs, and that's fine. But a number of them are going to be outcomes. And what you want to show is this chaos on the far side where you have the lines, which is a little bit like where is Air Canada flying, to show that in these activities we did under communications, here's was the linkage to research excellence, excellence and reputation, or maybe to local and global engagement. And this is where the rubber really starts to hit the road, because this is where we're showing outcomes and where we're showing impact. And we're showing impact against the institutional strategic plan in a measurable way. So when we go back to the importance of showing return on investment, here we are showing that in spades. And it also shows the importance of having all of your campus partners participating, because everybody should be doing their activities to support the institutional strategic plan. So then the final piece is the institutional mission. And now we're back to the initial concept, comment about universities being around for, in the case of the University of Bologna, 1,000 years. It's all about this mission. And so we want to show that the engagement of our constituents is lifting that mission. And this is how we're doing it. So that, to me, is extremely exciting. So what's an example of this? Well, an example would be, right now, in our plethora of webinars and all these things that we're all getting bombarded with, it's the alumni office having a webinar on a topic that their alumni survey and stuff said it would be of interest to alumni. Having that webinar, maybe having hundreds of people participate, and then receiving a nice thank you email for participating. That's great. The difference, because that's outputs, that they had 300 people on the webinar. That's an output. That's great. But if that webinar was designed to link to the research excellence pillar of the strategic plan, and one of the core, maybe, grand challenges that the university is focusing on, and bringing in experts on that, having a dynamic webinar, and then having a call to action. We need research participants. We need donors, and we need advocates. We need you to share this on your social media, etc. Then when you do that, that's the outcome, because then you can track that. Did those people participate in those things? Did they do that? Did they participate in the research study? Did they share it on their social media? Did they donate? That's where we have outcomes and, in effect, impact. So that's why this is something I think is really important and really links to what we're talking about today with profound impact. And this is where the sort of missing piece is now the next stage, which is the bigger piece that profound impact can do, which to date, from my observations, has not been available. So, I don't need to tell you that the landscape has changed. Here we all are on the webinar. But what it's doing is driving, a lot of organizations that had maybe not moved as quickly as they had been planning on online engagement of their alumni and their constituents. But it's also creating a really awesome opportunity, and you'll see this in a lot of literature, for institutions to open up their knowledge, their knowledge sharing, way beyond campus. And so there's no longer the importance of campus events. Now we're seeing that people from all over the world can participate, alumni, constituents, people who care, but also people who are just passionate about whatever the topic is, can participate. So you have all of your constituents, and that's really exciting. So what this is also doing, because there's such a volume of this, is that it's bringing up the need to have more niche products, if you will. So in this alumni platform or constituent platform space, and for some reason I'm involved in a number of them, there's a lot. a lot of these companies right now, and there's some really good ones. And the ones I have here are all absolutely excellent, and ones I know quite well. But none yet have come up with this concept of this academic ancestry and showing the impact of that and of mentorship and of research and those interconnections. And I think that's really, really important here, because as the volume and need for all of this has increased, the need as well for this type of very focused area, because it's not one size fits all, is really, really important. And that's why we're seeing, what is so cool, what's been developed here for the School of Mathematics. So this is to me very exciting. And I say that because I was often in the situation of helping do a lot with our institutions in China and other countries. And so I would often be in the place of, a dean or someone would say, hey, we want to do more partnerships with, say, Beidao, a university in Beijing. And, can you tell me all the alumni that work there? And I'd, obviously want to help, but would have to share that we didn't have any of that data. And a lot of it, so I'd go back to the office saying, how am I going to do this? And most of the time it would just be LinkedIn. It would be the most I could get. And there was, in cases, I've been one where we had in our database, 19 alumni in China and on LinkedIn over 800 in China. So we just didn't have the data. And that's what's so exciting about Profound Impact, because I know how hard it is to develop that, and I've done it. And in the case of Beidao, we actually found that we had 9 alumni who had been postdocs or had been alumni from our university, and we're now there. They were excited that our university wanted to partner with them, and they actually opened the doors, and it was fantastic. It was textbook, but man, it was hard to get there. If we'd had this site and been able to go and click on those lovely spinning graphs or graphics, it would have been phenomenal, because it could just speed it up. And it can get the alumni office out of the middle. It can get people out of the middle and get those conversations about collaboration happening and faster, which is what we all need. And this happens because of the depth of the profile, which we'll talk about in a sec, because that's the different key piece here. And I really like the fact that it has mentorship in it. I think that is incredibly important. So, we're all very familiar with LinkedIn, and we're all familiar with some of the other sites that we've seen that often import LinkedIn data, which is fantastic because then you can get it. But I have never seen a site that goes to this level. Where have you volunteered? Who have you volunteered for? Where are you doing that? What are your publications? What are your awards? What are your projects? The research, all of these things. What are your patents? This is phenomenal. And this is also really valuable for the alumni and for the faculty, because there often isn't a place to put all of this. And we used to call it a co-curricular transcript, where you wanted to have that from a student level on everything that you've done, because your basic transcript doesn't capture that. And so LinkedIn doesn't capture all that. This is a one place that you can create that throughout your career and take that with you as, if you're a graduate or a faculty member of this school who's using this platform. So this is totally phenomenal. And it has the mentoring relationships, everything in it. This is, as Brian alluded to, there's quite a lot to do here, but now we have the import tools and there's more coming. So that is incredibly important. So that's what I'm really excited about. And I think it also, again, this is a niche product. So this is very specific, in the research area, but also in areas, say, like creative writing. For my alma mater, they have a phenomenal creative writing program, one of the greatest in Canada. So you want to be able to tell the genealogy of those authors as they go forward in their career. So it isn't always just science. There's a lot of other areas as well in the universities, but it's where these relationships and partnerships are really important that this really, really shines. And I am really excited about it. And so again, Brian already showed you this, but this piece here and the way it can be manipulated and worked with is absolutely fascinating. It's really important to note as well that the product roadmap that has been mapped out has a lot of areas that can really take this to the next level. And one of the things will be around mentorship, and some of them will be around careers. There's a lot of really exciting stuff coming up in the pipeline. And the last thing I'm just going to say is, having been involved in engaging with a lot of technology companies in this space, is it's around their ability to be a good partner. That was always my thing. Like, yeah, okay, maybe these three platforms are somewhat similar, but who's the best partner? Who's going to be alongside me in this journey together and really helping us make it all it can be? And that's what I've been impressed with, watching the relationship with the School of Mathematics and Profound Impact, and seeing that deep, deep level of partnership. So it gives me really strong beliefs that this would be a great organization to partner with. And on that note, I will turn it back to Brian, who is going to facilitate.
Thanks, Barney. So now would be a great time if anybody has questions about the platform, or questions about the goals of what we're trying to do, or questions on Barney's presentation. Ideally, you can paste them directly into the Profound Impact platform. So you should have received a link when you registered. If you go to that link, you can paste questions into the group discussion that will live on after this meeting. You can also paste them directly into the Q&A or the chat window for Zoom. We do have a couple of questions that have come up already. So let's start off with one that was pasted in through Zoom. So Mark Kemble asks, could outcomes also drive impact? Could an alum attend an event as a result of their experience presenting in a class? And how do we direct traffic on this kind of a two-way street? And I think, Barney, maybe you could address that. Barney, I don't think we can hear you. Or maybe you can't hear me. Again, the question there is, could outcomes drive outputs or drive impact? So certainly one of the goals of the platform I'll offer is that exactly like the questioner is implying, that can we link activities in the classroom or relationships that started in a classroom to much later collaborations or real world results that happen outside the classroom? That's one of the goals that we have for the long-term value of the platform, is the ability to show those tenuous links that are really hard to track, as Barney was indicating, by collecting that level of information of who shared classes together, who worked with the same professor. We eventually hope to be able to have that level of fine-grained detail where if users choose to make it public, then we can show those connections. If users choose not to make their personal information public, we can still show influence, but we may not be able to show the individual names of people along the chain of events. We can just say somebody who chooses to keep their ID private had an influence here. Barney, is there more that you could comment on with that?
Sorry, I missed some of that. I love that we're talking about technology and something happened and I disappeared. So I'm hoping I got to the end of the presentation, because I was merrily chatting away.
Sounded good on my end, so we got through the end of the presentation.
Okay.
I was just talking about a question came in that said, could outcomes also drive outputs? And specifically the questioner asked, could an alum attend an event as a result of their experience of presenting in a class? And how do we direct traffic on this kind of two-way street?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what you're getting into, if you have the outcomes, you start to get into this positive feedback loop, and that people are actually, able to see that they've had an impact, and that, say they, instead of just walking away from an event going, oh, that was great, they walk away and they have a call to action around, say, becoming a mentor. They become a mentor, and they have that positive experience. Let's hope. And then they promote that to others, and you just start to see the circle grow. So my experience has been in programs that we've started to develop, really trying to recharge some alumni programs. There's been moments where you just feel like you're pushing a rock up a hill, and then you reach that critical mass, and it's back to some of those some of the great Malcolm Gladwell theories about creating critical mass, and you get to about 20 to 25%. and you just tip over, and then you can't keep up. And it's terrifying. And that's why you need technology to scale. And so that alumni who are getting excited, want to get involved, want to do things, they can go somewhere and you are not in the middle, because you'll never have enough alumni staff, ever. And even the biggest programs I've worked with all over the world are always like, yeah, but if only we had like 10 more staff. I'm like, yeah, I have 100. So it's really about creating that positive energy, and that the outputs, do support the outcomes, and the outcomes then go to more outputs, and you just start to spin forward.
That's great. Yeah, I will add to that sometimes the relationships and the value is not as one-to-one as you might expect. So there's other platforms, some you had hinted at on your slide, where they're looking at very specific, if you do this, you expect to see this kind of an output. So if you mentor somebody, you expect certain types of results. And I think we're expecting to see more broad-based results. In other words, a mentorship might result later on in some sort of an academic collaboration. Maybe a paper is published, and that may result in some sort of a research outcome that has a huge impact on the world, that you can trickle all the way back to, oh yeah, somebody mentored somebody and that had this impact that started them down this chain of events that led to some significant results later on. Not just a direct outcome of the mentoring, but all the other things that come with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
What other question?
And sorry, I'm just going to add one piece to that, because what's fascinating here is bringing in the faculty side of it. Because one of the, and every time I'm talking to an alumni, it almost never fails when I'm talking to somebody who's done something really cool, is they'll often say, well, in third year, my professor talked to me about this. In first year, my professor challenged me. I got to work in a lab. I got to do these things. And there is one of the platforms that actually has a new feature, which I love, is to connect with faculty. But to date, it's been a little bit like, this is the alumni development world over here, and then here's all the faculty stuff. But we know that it's that interface that is so important for so many people, and specifically in the type of areas we're talking about here in science. So that's again where I think Profound Impact has a really interesting advantage.
Great. So one other question, a little more tactical. Somebody's asking, how long does it take to get the platform up and running? I will share the simple answer is it's evolving, right? So we have one faculty up and running right now. We're working with several others. It is a new instance of the platform when a new department comes on board. So there is some work in terms of branding and effort that goes into customizing it to your needs and understanding what your needs are. But it depends on the level of customization, right? So we could be up and running in a couple of weeks if there's very limited branding. If you want to spend more time and do more customization, maybe custom graphs or custom views, maybe import a lot of data that you already have about your community, that might take a little bit longer. But it really depends on how custom you want to make it and how many changes you want to make to the platform.
I would also add one thing to that too.
By all means.
Sorry. Is that it's really important for the strategy to be developed. So, I think everything you're talking about, getting it up and running is awesome, and you guys are quick and you respond quickly, is technical. But to have the overarching strategy, the communication strategy, to have it embedded in everything that you're doing, and in effect to do something I like to talk about called tech mapping, where you look across your strategy and then make those linkages to your new platform, and how can you tie all that together? Because without that strategy, you can't just open it and expect it to work. It doesn't come out of the box and populate. So you have to be really mindful about how you're going to make that successful.
Sure. Yeah, and a benefit of working with Profound Impact is, we're willing and able to work with you on unique features, unique graphs, unique views that are unique to your strategy, right? Because every customer gets their own instance of the platform, we can really tailor and customize for your unique view. And then where it makes sense, we can bring in features from other instances that we agree should be shared, that the community agrees should be shared. Here's a quick question on what features do we plan to add? Actually, so the answer to that is long. We have an extensive list of features and capabilities. Barney and I have each hinted at a few of them. I'll just summarize a couple of quick ones. I mentioned data import. I failed to mention in the parallel of that is data export. So certainly, if you're going to be able to pull in information from public databases, and then you're going to put work into updating and improving the data in this platform, we certainly want to make it possible to export the data back out again. Again, we don't look like we're trying to hold data captive. We do want to make it better and visible and shareable. So certainly if we can export data to an existing platform that you have at your school, we would certainly work with you to make the data two-way so that if users update their profile within Profound Impact, all those updates flow back to your other platforms that you're already using, maybe for marketing or other types of alerts or campaigns. We would be happy to share with that. Barney, you want to add another feature that we've talked about?
One of them is mentoring and also how to, basically there'll be some tools that may not have like the whole program, but how to use it. Talking about here's how to use the platform and to leverage it to find a mentor who would be aligned with your areas of study or focus. And or if you're, alumni, say for collaboration for a business startup, or if you're in a company to trying to find research support for an initiative within your business. So there's a lot of opportunity. So these things are going to be staged over the next 6 to 9 months.
Yep. One other quick feature I'll mention briefly is a dashboard for administrators. So if you're a community administrator, today I showed you just the view from the end user and how they manage their own profile. Certainly as a community manager, you will have a view of your community. You'll have special graphs and views that are unique to your perspective on that community, and ways to maintain and manage that dashboard showing engagement, activity, who's looking at what's having an impact. Are you tracking those strategic metrics that you defined at the beginning of the program? So that's all. We have a draft of that dashboard in place now, and we're adding new features to it every day. Quickly, I know we're low on time. I don't want to keep people too far over. Certainly, question was, can you customize the platform for our needs? Yes, as I mentioned earlier, it can be very highly customized and tailored based on your individual strategy and goals. Very broad question is, how does this platform increase engagement of stakeholders? And again, our theory is twofold, right? One is for this very academic, technical community that we're targeting. We recognize that they typically don't engage in your traditional social media platforms. So if you start to look like, a scaled down version of a Facebook or LinkedIn, that's, just limited to your community, that's neat, but that's not what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to engage people in new ways, make the data more accessible, make it more interactive, make it more visual, and really put people in control of what they see as opposed to feeding them, a news feed of information. We believe that for this particular community, that will engage them more, right? This will help them understand who can I collaborate with to solve a problem, who has the right information, who has a background like me, who has solved problems like this or faced things like this before. So that's part of the theory of how we make a difference. Again, Barney, you want to comment on that?
No, I just think that's incredibly important, and we need this. I've seen it time and time again where it would have strong usability. So it is niche, and it's not the same as the other ones that are out there, and they all have a fabulous purpose. And many schools will have both. Like, you're going to see schools that have one of the major platforms for the whole alumni experience, and you're going to have this platform for an area such as mathematics or physics or what have you, or creative writing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're at the top of the hour. I just want to do a quick time check. Sherry, do you want to wrap up?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Brian and Barney and the mayor for participating today. And thank you, our attendees, for joining us. Now, how can you participate in Profound Impact Day, you ask? Stay on the digital platform and continue the conversation on the discussion board. In addition, we have a call to action on the platform, and being displayed right now is to use the hashtag Profound Impact Day to share your stories of how individuals impacted your profession or personal journey. And by bringing your stories together as a collective, we can begin to measure and celebrate the worldwide impact and enable the exploration of hidden or unrecognized connections for solving some of the big problems that we're facing today. So please stay on the platform, discuss more. As I said, this is how you can make an impact is on the platform, and I hope you will engage and make this a very special day. Thank you very much. Bye.